Welcome, travelers. We're aware that your journey was difficult, but prepare to have your questions answered, for you have been granted an audience with the Masters of Mod.
What's up, everybody? This is the pre-video.
We're doing a preview of Ultimate Masters real quick, live on YouTube. Make sure to follow us. I'm at Kes Wiley on Twitter.
You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Twitter and Instagram.
And we are both the MMCast on Twitter at the MMCast and pretty much everywhere. Just first search at the MMCast. We are currently live streaming this on our YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe there and like and comment and do all the things that every YouTube channel tells you to do. If you've ever been on YouTube, you know what to do.
You guys have been doing it, though, which is really cool. We've had great support from you. So.
And last but very not least, make sure to check out our sister podcast, and you can check out the audio version of this podcast at collected.company. It is the website that we live on. It's great. Check it out.
Yeah.
Cool. So without, just so I can start sharing the last piece of this information on the internet so we can get it over with. Yeah. I want to really reveal our preview card right now.
Okay.
But to do so, I kind of need to discard a blue spell.
No!
It'll push.
We're so close.
There we go.
That was a disaster.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse before it's getting better. There we go. That was live.
Sick.
Goodbye, Mistbind click. No, was that?
Merfolk Mistbinder.
Merfolk Mistbinder.
So our preview card
Disrupting Shoal. Disrupting Shoal. Let's post this really quick onto Reddit.
Nice.
Something went wrong. Don't panic.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I know something went wrong. We didn't panic. We made it work. So, yes, our preview card is Disrupting Shoal. Sick, right? I'm a big fan. I love Disrupting Shoal. As soon as Alex resolves this here, we're going to talk about Disrupting Shoal for a few minutes.
Why don't you talk about it a little bit while I deal with this?
Disrupting Shoal, as you can see behind us, is an instant arcane. I'll hold up a little closer so you guys can... Oh, nope, it's going to knock cards over if I do that. So I'm just going to leave it right there. Disrupting Shoal is an instant. It's blue X, counter target spell with converted mana cost X. It's an instant. It's an arcane spell originally from the Kamigawa block, so it's got the whole Splice Under Arcane tie-in thing that people do. But the alternative cost is you may remove a blue card with converted mana cost X from your hand rather than paying its casting cost. It is Modern's Force of Will, give or take. It's the only one that we have in Modern that is like properly a card like this as a counterspell. It's not really used in the same way because obviously Force of Will and even to some degree Daze have a much wider grip of what they're able to hit. But this card is interesting and people have made it work. And as Modern has progressed over the last few years, it has become an exceptionally tight 1-drop, 2-drop format. Except in the case of cards that cost 6 that people pay 2 for. Or 1 for. So it's actually a pretty versatile card. People have played with it, but it has never really been adopted as a tier 1 card in Modern. I just happen to love it because I think it's a really, really fun way to play super low to the ground blue spells and still have some way to interact. I think most famously this card has been played in that Travis Wu Cheap Dirty Blue deck. Ninja Bear Delver, I think is what the other name for it. Maybe that was a similar deck, but those are like the two Disrupting Shoal decks.
I mean, it's interesting. It's obviously the secondary best free counterspell in the format, with Pact of Negation being the premier one.
Well, they're different though, right? Because Pact you have to play late in the game in a very specific situation. Because unless you can Angel's Grace it,
you can get around
lose
with Gideon, right?
But like, this
or you use it to win the turn you have it. Like, that's which happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, in terms of what Force of Will gets to do, which is in the first 2 or 3 turns of the game, like change the interaction so that you can advance your game plan and set up. That's what this card is capable of doing in Modern. It can support you in your first few turns. Pact is a very specific, I either win or I'm playing this late in the game card.
That's fair.
So it's a combo counterspell, whereas this is like an actual fair counterspell.
Sure.
It's a 2-for-1 on yourself counterspell that is free. I love this card. I actually have a deck that I brewed up at one point recently, and I was going to play. I was going to stream it, and then, things went haywire, and I haven't streamed it yet, but I probably still will. And it was like Fairy Miscreant, the 2-1 Fairy Imposter with like other 1-drop flyers, Curious Obsession, Aether Vial, cheap counter spells like Spell Pierce and Spell Snare and stuff like that. And then this card And the idea was that you were getting your card advantage back with your Curious Obsessions, Curiosities on 1/1 flyers that were becoming 2/2 flyers. You were advancing, playing 18 lands with Aether Vial, and you had your 4 Disrupting Shoals to make sure that you could protect your flyer early. And I still probably will brew that deck up because it seems really sweet and really fun to play. And I think it's just mono blue, so I think it's probably pretty cheap. It's kind of similar to some of those Ninja Bear Delver decks and things like that, but that is the deck that I have messed around with this card the most in. Have you ever brewed a Disrupting Shoal deck?
I've tried. I know the best deck that we've ever talked about with it was the one that we had Josh Kim on, where we did the song where we sang.
Right.
He had that really good really fun rug Disrupting Shoal deck.
I do remember that, and it had his deck was all foiled out and stuff. He had gotten the expeditions. And
Correct. He was deep.
He was deep into that deck.
Yep. Which is I'm all about it.
Yeah. How's the sharing going?
My Reddit account was locked because I think someone tried putting on my signing in from a different place, and so I am fixing it. But we should be okay.
Good.
Hopefully this works.
So yeah, big thanks to Wizard for giving us this card, to Wizards of the Coast. As always, they present these cards to us as a gift. It's just a wonderful piece of support for the community, and we could not be thankful any more than we already are. It's a great honor to have premiered all of these cards behind us.
Yeah.
Even Isolate. It didn't hit. We thought it might. It didn't.
Well, I think it's actually surprising. I mean, it's surprising how many of the cards we've gotten have been important or format defining, or at least played consistently.
Well, we're the modern
defense.
We're the modern podcast, so that's why they give us the modern card.
I mean, that's definitely true. I guess my point is that there's a level of this, guessing what cards are going to see play in Modern is not that easy.
No.
Wizards, even though Wizards has a better idea than most, but even then, getting a good idea regularly of what's going to do well isn't going to always hit.
And we don't always get the card. So for instance, we got Knight of Autumn, which is awesome, but we didn't get Assassin's Trophy, which would have been the card.
Although I think Knight of Autumn is seeing more play than Assassin's Trophy.
Yeah, and
there's another card that's seeing more.
We got Whispers of Emrakul instead of getting Traverse, but whatever. The cards we get are sweet. That's the point. They continue to give us a sweet card every time.
Right.
Even Isolate, which is not a very good card, is at least sweet. It's interesting. That's a card that when we saw it, we're oh, this is
I can see them thinking it would see play. I mean, there's 100%. A lot of things on it that look like a card that would see play in Modern, and I
just made an argument for why Disrupting Shoal is good. It is because things in Modern primarily cost 1. That would make this card also, by definition, at least interesting.
Yeah, and I think if Isolate existed in a world where Deathrite Shaman was once again the best deck in the format, it could come back. But right now the deck is mono 3 mana and 4 mana beaters that people play for free.
Yep.
When you're dealing with Gurmag Anglers and you're dealing with Prize Amalgams and you're dealing with things that are cheap, that are free or cost 1, but actually cost a different mana cost. Right.
Yeah. All your Tassigers and all your expensive things, they're not actually 1 and 2 drops.
Right. Absolutely.
Reveler is an 8 drop.
I agree. Filipino Macchio, the claim to fame, should see a lot more play.
The card's so sweet.
It's really good.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our preview card.
Yeah. What do you think about Ultimate Master so far?
I'm a big fan. I mean, I believe the episode that we posted last week was the Ultimate Masters episode, right? We didn't see anything from it. Well, all we saw... not a review. I mean, I think we talked about the set in last week's episode.
Yeah, a little bit. So this will be maybe a little bit of a segue into... Last week's episode, we talked about the Pro Tour and this, and so they're going to be connected.
Yeah.
And so this week's episode, where you can bring up the fact that we've now seen a ton of cards, and the value is not locked in at...
Mythic?
The Mythic and Rare slot. It goes deep. Devoted Druid is uncommon. There's
cards that are... Yeah, this is going to be a sweet set. And I, for one, I know people have been up in arms about this set. I'm a big fan of this set. I would
much rather sets like this exist that are expensive than sets like
Iconic
Modern
Masters.
Masters 2 or Iconic Masters exist that are inexpensive. The fact that there's just every single card in here is sweet. The fact that I'm going to be able to Fauna Shaman for Vengevine, and likely there's, we were talking about this before with Michael, but that Root Wall is probably in this set, so I can Fauna Shaman or Root Wall in play. I'm all about that. So,
the value. The value is unreal.
Wait, is what's it called? One of the preview cards?
What?
Was Enchantment Fauna Shaman one of the...
Survival of the Fittest is on the reserve list.
It's on the reserve list.
Pick them up now, guys.
So sweet.
Yeah, I think it's a great set. I'm excited for it.
Dark Depths and Thespian Stage are both in this set.
Yeah, you'll be able to. That'll happen.
You can do.
That'll happen in limited at least once.
You could also through the Breach Emrakul in this set. Like there's
or Goryo's Emrakul.
Or Goryo's Emrakul or.
So is this? Yeah. Do we know the level?
There's a Containment Priest, and you can just get them.
Oh wait, Containment Priest isn't. Oh, yeah. Containment Priest already was a foil, right?
There's a Judge an Expedition.
Right? Of Containment Priest? Oh, a masterpiece of it.
A masterpiece.
That's right. This set is going to be available, like, at what level? Like, will this be available at the level of Iconic and Eternal, or is this a little more limited?
I think it'll be at the level of Iconic and Eternal. It's just going to be much more expensive. So to be able to get it, it's not going to be... Yeah.
Because my question is, like, for the longest time, buying Magic sets and sitting on them was, like, one of the best investments you could possibly make. Mm-hmm. They just, like, always appreciated. And then it's slowed down recently. But this set, because of how many sick cards are in it, this just feels like a slam dunk, right? Or is the cost buy-in so high that the idea that it's going to appreciate too much unrealistic?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's worth holding on to. I think, like, for instance, New Phyrexia is cheaper than this set right now, and that seems, based on how much value is in this set, seems silly. Like, I would never buy a New Phyrexia box with this box available to buy instead.
Yeah, I mean, just the box topper alone, and will there be a box topper available at every level?
Box. So it comes in the box. So it's not like stores get them to give to people who buy boxes.
So if you buy one of these in 5 years, a sealed box of this, you will still be getting a box topper.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, what is the value of selling box toppers? An unopened box topper, is that worth $100?
You can use a flashlight to see what the card is through the box topper packaging. So
okay.
Let this be an official Masters of Modern announcement. Do not
buy box toppers without a flashlight.
Got it. Okay. I did not know that.
They come sealed in the box, so it's not like stores can just only give out the bad ones. They're sealed in the box. So if you buy a sealed box, you get an unaltered box topper. If you're just buying a rando box topper on eBay...
That is not true, says someone in the chat.
But they're delayed from what we're saying.
Yes. What is
not true? How do you not know the topper were in the box?
Oh, no.
Can we? Do you know, or anybody know offhand, what is the most expensive box topper? What's like the chase card? Is it Snapcaster?
There are really good ones.
I mean, there's Incarn, Snapcaster, Liliana. Like, there's insane ones.
But you also have to there's like Emrakul, so like,
and there's like Mana Vault or whatever, isn't there?
Yeah. So like
a crazy like.
It's hard. I have no idea. I don't even think they're for sale yet. Like, I tried looking when they were all being previewed to see if I could find. Yeah, and I couldn't. I mean, I'm assuming they're somewhere now.
Will you be buying any? Like, just actually buying them because you are
just straight up cards?
Well, because like for your commander decks, you have like that one deck, your blue-white deck that you've gone all in on.
Well, it's just all foil. Like, I have the bad foils of stuff. Like, I don't have like original foils of some of the cards. I have Judge promos or from the vaults or yeah. I'm not that committed. I'm not like, oh man, this needs to be the best version of every card.
So. Excellent.
Yeah, that's great.
So this is probably going to wrap up the preview first part of this episode.
Yeah, and then this will be attached to the other episode.
Yeah, so there's a full episode coming right after this, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for supporting the show 4 years later. Thank you to Wizards for giving us this card. We are thankful for that. And we hope you guys enjoyed the stream. And
Liliana is $350.
That's crazy. And and enjoy the next full episode. And we'll be back after Thanksgiving with more awesome stuff. Anything else for the people, Alex?
Yeah, so I can give you from Karn is currently the highest based on pre-order prices, but people think it might be through the breach since it's harder to find. Noble Hierarch is up there. And then people are arguing about how searchable they are. But I would still not buy those packs separately. That seems silly.
Cool.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you guys next week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And welcome back to Masters of Modern. I am your host, Alex Kessler, here with my co-host, Ben Botman.
What's up, guys? I'm just normal host of the show. Ben Bateman couldn't make it. I'm here. I'm Ben Botman, filling in.
Is that spelled B-A-U-G-H-T-M-A-N?
I'm like a botanist.
Yeah.
You know, that's not, yeah.
Okay.
I'm here, guys. We're here to talk to you about what's going on in the world of Magic the Gathering. This is the Masters of Modern podcast. It's exciting. We're back. We're streaming live for you right now. Yeah, there was a Pro Tour. There's all kinds of things. What are we talking about today on the show, Alex?
Pro Tour things. It's a standard Pro Tour, so from a competitive perspective, we're going to talk about a little bit of stuff. We're going to talk a lot about the format of how Pro Tours work. We're going to talk about a little bit of what happened. We're going to talk about a little bit of what cool cards saw play that were good, that if we think they might make their way into Modern. We might talk a little bit about white weenie decks in general, or mono white decks in Modern. And we're going to do some shout-outs, and we're going to talk about fantasy draft.
Oh, we did a Fantasy Pro Tour draft.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
We did that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So cool. There's a lot to talk about today on the show. If you want to follow along with the conversation, you can follow me on Twitter at Ben Bateman Media.
I'm at Kes Wiley. This podcast is at the MMCast. If you want alerts for when this show is going on, you should definitely follow on Twitter, but also subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah.
People watching live right now, hit that like, subscribe, comment, see the little thumb up. There's only 2 there, and there's at least 13 of you watching, so I want to see that go up. And then people watching this video also do that as well. And then people on the audio feed who are not watching the video, thank you. And we also would like you to check out the review page for the iTunes library. So
please do. Keep
anywhere you can give us 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a like, or a subscribe, do so in all of those places.
I absolutely agree. The YouTube channel has been growing, which has really been cool to see. We get new subscribers every day. We have like 2,200 people in there now. So
Oscar wants you to say his last name.
He wants me to say it,
yeah,
not you.
Say it, Ben.
He would like me to say
exclamation mark. Does he?
Oscar Barrientos.
Okay.
I believe that was correct.
Yeah. This is double R. This might be a little bit more R.
Maybe it's Barrientos?
Yeah.
Barrientos?
Yeah. There we go. Okay. All right. Moving on.
So anyway, guys, that is what we're here to do today. Is to talk to you about all of those fun things that have happened in the Magic world since last we talked to you. What's gone on?
A Pro Tour happened.
A Pro Tour happened?
No real Modern tournaments happened. I don't think there was a Modern Open this weekend. I was not paying Grand Prix. Yeah. Pro Tour and there was Grand Prix Atlanta that was this weekend.
No, that was the one we covered last week.
Because it was the week before the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Which was also in Atlanta.
Yeah. So I think
the
stuff. Wait, you said it the English way first, but good when you roll the R's. Excellent. So I think what's really interesting about standard Pro Tours and standard decks is that you can basically see when you look at these lists, because largely this Pro Tour was won by aggro decks, like Boros aggro decks. Like that was basically the top 8. So like a lot of white decks. But you can kind of see the difference between the types of cards you're playing. So there are cards that you can see that you're like a good example of this would be like History Benalia, where you're like, this card's really powerful. It's properly costed for its rate that I could see a deck in Modern taking advantage of it. And then there's cards like Lava Coil, where you're like, this is just the classic standard available card that is being played in this slot.
Sure, and some of that is also like uniqueness of effect. Like, are there better 3-drops that create 2/2/2 tokens over 2 turns? And I don't really think there are. So like, it does get a lot of, but body onto the field that like are removal resistant. But on the other hand, how really like 3-drops I want to play in Modern are 3-drops that like win me the game in the next turn and a half if they don't get answered, or are part of a engine that lets me go on. Where this is just like a 3-mana 2/2, even though if it's a 3-mana 2/2 that gives you a second 2/2 on the next turn, I wouldn't play. I mean, like, would you play, what's it called? Will you get a 2/2 token with Retrace? Not Retrace, the flash, the
Sends Enlistment, you're talking about?
Like, it happens now and then it happens on your next turn?
Yeah, Rebound.
Rebound. Would you play like a 2/2 for Rebound?
And my point was less to say that I think History Benalia belongs in Modern, because it's not like that card was introduced for this Pro Tour. That card's been legal for a while. It was more like that's the kind of card that if you saw somebody find success in a Modern tournament with that card, you'd go, okay, this was a premier mythic that was pushed pretty hard. There's a reason this card's good. Versus like, you're never going to see a deck with Lava Coil in Modern. Like, it's just, there are other cards that do similar things.
There isn't a 2-mana do damage for 4 exile a creature, is there? The exiling a creature, I think, is relevant.
Maybe what you're saying is true, but even then, it just feels like a 2-mana sorcery speed only creature is pretty narrow.
Right.
Now, Pillar of Flame would be more likely to see play in Modern than you would see this card.
I mean, at least looking at the top 8, the cards that like really kind of took the thing by storm, and we're going to talk about why this could have happened and what this means. But Adanto Vanguard was like kind of the big all-star of this tournament, and this has been out for like a year and a half.
That card's really good.
Yeah,
Adanto
it's like obviously really good. Healer's Hawk ended up being just this giant big game all weekend. Every single deck was playing multiple copies. Some of them were playing as 4-0s.
1/1 flyer for 1?
1/1 flying lifelink for 1. And so, just the fact that it's getting you life every turn, leading in Vanguard was a big play. It ended up that actually Johnny's Primate was the big tech for the whole weekend. Which,
because
in Modern, that's a modern playable card. Soul Sisters has been playing Johnny Primate since the card was basically printed.
That's a cool. That's a cool variety of card. The whenever you gain life, this thing happens card. There's not that many of them. They've printed more in the last few years. They like to use that effect, but I like it. I like the redundancy of that effect. It makes it's finding a way to make gaining life fun, which is something that they struggled with for a long time.
Right. Obviously, and having things trigger off of it, and that's there's the new card that lets you draw cards every time you gain life if you pay 2 mana, and that's. Mark Rosewater wrote an entire section of one of his articles on just the fact that this is a card that he was kind of worried about printing because it's so easy to incidentally gain life, but is it going to be okay color power-wise for white to draw this many cards? And we're going to find out how it goes. I mean, it definitely is seeing some play now.
There's a card. There's a card that I'm guessing you've probably played against this with somebody in EDH at some point. The card's Searing Meditation. And that's a card that I've always been curious to see if somebody could find a way to make it work in Modern.
Sure.
The thing I would love to see somebody do is build a deck that's sort of a Turbo Fog deck with all of the come into play tapped gain a life lands and Searing Meditation, where you could effectively just turn every single land into a triggered shock.
Sure.
That seems pretty dope. If you built a deck that was Amulet, all the tapped lands, Searing Meditation, and then just a bunch of Stay Alive cards. So all of a sudden, every single land you draw is an untapped source. That seems could be pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
Especially if it comes in untapped and it can tap itself to generate one of the two.
Right. Now, the big news of this top 8 is that it was 6 of the same deck, and then 1 is it Drake's. For the record, been on that train since the beginning. Glad the world's finally catching on.
I mean, you've been on the Arclight Phoenix train.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the deck's called Drake's. Were you playing Cackling Drake?
I've been high on Cackling Drake actually pretty early.
Crackling Drake?
Yeah. Enigma Drake's was from M19.
Yes, it actually was originally from Theros.
Not
Theros. Amonkhet.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's pyramids behind them.
I played a lot of Enigma Drakes at Gen Con. That was my card. I played the crap out of that card.
But no, I mean, there have been multiple articles written that this is an Arclight Phoenix deck. If Arclight Phoenix wasn't this deck probably doesn't exist. I mean, Enigma Drake, or it looks like the Jeskai control deck, which is the other deck that wasn't red-white aggro.
Why do you think
to play 3 Crackling Drakes?
Why do you think aggro is such a popular choice at Pro Tours?
So, I think because Pro Tours are generally format defining. Even with this delayed Pro Tour format, which I don't like, and that'll be one of the things we talk about today, but with the delayed Pro Tour format, you get a situation where pros are going to try and break this format, so you don't know what you're going to be playing against. And so when you're in a format where you don't know what you're playing against, a aggressive deck is just going to be a safer choice, because a control deck is always going to be hard. But then you always have players Jeskai Control was played by Wilson Mock, and then Is It Drake's, who it does have a lot of control features to it, was played by Yu Watanabe. So these are people that have played a lot of blue-red spells in their lives. Now, the thing that really pay attention to, and that's kind of going to be one of the themes of today's episode, is the reason so much of the top 8 was this red-white aggro list has way more to do with draft than it has to do with the actual decks themselves. If you look at the 30 points, decks with 30 points or better, so 10-0 or 9-1 with 27 points, it's very diverse. There's a ton of blue decks. There's a ton of green decks. There's no green decks in the top 8 here, but in this top 30 with perfect records, there's almost half of it is green decks.
So you're saying that the players that did really well in draft incidentally were playing these decks versus...
I think the players that did really well in draft are the ones that made it to the top 8, because you have to do well in draft, and the people that were getting really good at draft were ones that were I don't want to spend too much time on standard, so I'm going to play this aggressive deck so I don't have to do as much testing.
Well, historically, mono red is the usual, that's the old joke, the Pro Tour is probably going to get won by mono red.
Mono red has won more Pro Tours than any other deck archetype in the history of Magic.
Because and it's always on the back of some card like Goblin Rabble Master. Gets printed into standard. It's a pushed card. It does something cool. It's a lot of value.
Not always. Even I think the Pro Tour, Innistrad's first Pro Tour, or Innistrad Block's Pro Tour was won by a mono red deck, and it was just decent red
standard,
spells.
just staple.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So that begs the question here, which is that do we think that limited should be a major part of the Pro Tour or a part of the Pro Tour at all.
So I did a poll. I'm going to bring up my phone because
All right.
That's us. No, I can go to ourselves. And cool. Did a poll. I asked the internet yesterday.
Wait a second. Was that Eric Frederick up at the top there?
Possibly. I'll go look at it in a second. Should Pro Tours get rid of draft? And I gave the options of yes, only one format, no, keep it as is, or yes, but still two formats. So the options are like GPs, like there's a modern Pro Tour and it's only modern, and then there's a standard one, and then the other option was just keep it as is.
Yeah.
And then the third one was yes, there shouldn't be draft in the Pro Tour, or at least most Pro Tours shouldn't automatically have draft, but there should be two formats, so modern and standard. And it was 37 for yes, only one format, 32% for yes, but still two formats, and then no, keep it as is was 31%. So,
well, it's really interesting because, see, like my opinion on this is that I definitely think you should stick to one format. I think it's way more interesting and it's way more fun as a player to prepare for that. I mean, I've never played on a Pro Tour. I have played GPs, but the one thing I can tell you is that the only weekend that I go and am a part of that has more than one format is when we do these Highlander Invitational things.
Sure.
And you go and it's like 6 rounds of Highlander on day one, and then there's like a 3-round draft with something new, and then there's some old wacky like chaos type of thing.
Sure.
And I've said for a while now, we spend months preparing for this one format, this Highlander format.
yeah, I get to do all these other things at any other time I want.
Yeah, I don't care. I just want to play 12 rounds of Highlander. That's what I want to do. And so to me, this is the same thing where it's like if you're going to just grill it, you're on the Pro Tour for the first time, this is your first chance, you've been grilling standard, like play standard. That's what people want to see.
Right. And this is, I think, some of the issue. Because part of this conversation should, well, before we get that, finalizing the poll, 70% said yes, get rid of draft.
Yeah.
Like, depending on, it doesn't matter which of the two other options they picked, only 31%, and that's less than any other option, even if you compare it against other things, wants draft to stay as is. So that's a pretty large percentage to just say, no, we shouldn't have draft anymore in Pro Tours, because draft is relatively uninteresting to watch. Like, it's fine when you're watching draft videos online, but like from a Pro Tour perspective, there's not that much different watching draft at a Pro Tour than watching draft like on a live stream that someone's just streaming. Especially now that Arena exists, where Arena is so much more interesting to watch draft on than a Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Like, I think
interesting
that 90% of the time I would choose to watch an arena draft over a Pro Tour Magic
just
draft.
Because it's like more visually pleasing, like the animation.
You can read what the cards are saying. You can see what's happening at all times. It's built to be more representative. It's more controlled. You know what's in the player's hand. It's not like a Pro Tour where like you have to like see from top down. It's hard to see what the cards are.
And they've like really introduced a lot of technology to try to get us to be able to like over the shoulder, like see what somebody's drafting.
The amount of times in Limited that I was watching this weekend where like the card that was shown isn't the card that the people are talking about, and I don't know the names of 60% of the commons and uncommons in a format. Like I know what the rares are that are seeing standard play, and I know obviously the ones that are. I mean, obviously I'm a bad example because my knowledge of card names is famously bad, but like even people that I'm better off than most casual people. And the point. So that's one issue. The other issue, and the thing to keep in mind in this conversation, to play a little bit of devil's advocate, is the Pro Tour exists as an advertisement for Magic.
That's the biggest and most important part of this, is that if you're trying to sell new cards, you get to see more of the new cards if you have a draft format. And that's very hard to, you don't get to replace that by more standard, because it's just going to be the rares and the most powerful commons. You're not going to see all the other cards.
So this is, I think, what my in-head solution is of this problem, is I think that there should be full standard GP, or full standard Pro Tours, just all standard. Because standard does still sell the most recent cards. And every single card that's seeing play in that tournament can be bought out of packs, right?
Yep,
like those are where you get them right now, as out of packs. Then... There's 6. There's 6 Pro Tours now a year. That's one thing that has changed. So it allows a little bit more freedom on what you do with them. I think another format should be, there should be a whole 100% draft Pro Tour.
But do you think that that's interesting to watch
many? I think it's more interesting, at least if the whole weekend is limited, than how it currently stands. And I don't know if that's better than a GP. I don't know what viewership is on, and maybe it's not. I mean, that might be true. I'm just trying to find points. I do think the modern Pro Tour has to have draft involved. I don't think you can have a modern Pro Tour by itself from the perspective of this is for a marketing budget and the purpose of this is to sell packs. And if you have nothing in the event that's not at least somewhat about that advertising spend, it's hard for Wizards to really make sense to the greater beings at large.
What if you
Being
eliminated
Hasbro.
just play devil's advocate again for a second? What if you were to eliminate this is a marketing budget move, and this was just the highest level Magic tournament, and the purpose of it was a big cash prize to get the biggest players out? If that was how it ran, would you want the Modern Pro Tour to just be a Modern Pro Tour? Well, no, I know what you're saying.
It would have the budget of a GP. It would have less than that because GPs are half paid for by people's entry fees, and this is a gift.
I understand that. So, logically, sure. But I'm saying, this is Magical Christmas Land for a second.
But Magical Christmas Land is like
stupid.
Yeah,
you're stupid. All right, fine. Keep doing your thing.
Well, it's just like, hey, if this main reason that this is happening wasn't the main reason, is this a thing that's true? Yes, obviously, I would love a Pro Tour that was 100% modern, and that was it. I would, from a viewership perspective, that's the most interesting. But the money that the viewership gets them on Twitch is not even like a drop in the bucket of what everything else is. Now, with Arena existing, standard only Pro Tours makes more sense to me, because now the motivation of people wanting to play Magic is both them play Arena, where individual cards don't matter as much as them just playing more of it, and motivating them to try new decks out, so they have to use wild cards to get the cards they need.
Are you like a very big fan of Arena right now?
Yeah, Arena is like the best.
I barely have played it.
It's really good.
I played the closed beta, but I played it on my stupid PC that I bought that I could play Moto on. And I haven't gotten to play it on Mac yet, where I feel comfortable, and it's like the computer that I want to use. And
sure, I mean, when I play it on Mac, it's through Parallels, so it's technically through a PC.
Yeah, but you're using your Mac.
Yeah, it's my Mac mouse, so I know where all the keys are. And yeah. I apologize to our modern audience of this podcast because of Arena and Arena being a part of my life. I have now been at least more consciously aware of Standard, and therefore more inclined to talk about it a little bit, versus before, where my main Magic activity was Modern, and so that was an issue. Now, Arena is really good. It's very well made. It's much more visually interesting than Moto. There's just a lot of things it does really, really, really right.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. But with that in mind, I think that does allow them to do 100% format Pro Tours, because you can have a fully standard Pro Tour. Now, the other thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is team Pro Tours are going to become a thing. They showed that that's a thing, and I think doing a team limited Pro Tour is even interesting. Then there's more of a conversation, because team draft is a much more interesting format to watch than a regular draft, because you can't do that on Arena. You can't do that on a live stream very easily. The only real environment to do that are GPs and Pro Tours, and so having that be a cool format there is something that's exciting.
Right.
And that also lets you do kind of a 3-format thing, where one player plays Legacy, one player plays Modern, one player plays Standard. People talking to us in the chat. Ooh, there's a lot of things on the chat. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. That's my thought on...
Should there be draft and Pro Tours?
Yeah, and I think the answer is there shouldn't be. I think because Magic is moving much more towards trying to be an esport with Arena and with the Pro Tour in general, which has been trying to do, the point of that feature should be to gain as much viewership as possible. And one of the problems with Limited is it's the most difficult for a new player to kind of walk into, I think. With Standard, at least, every round, I'm seeing these same decks being played, and I kind of get a game plan. With Draft, it's all just somewhat generic, with a bunch of cards that are really hard for me to keep track of, because every deck's playing a bunch of decks that I'm not going to need to know in 6 months.
Let's talk about quickly, before we move on from Standard, the Drake's deck, because the mono white and the Boros deck, it's cool and it's playing good cards, and there's interesting cards in there. There's the triple white soldier lord guy or whatever. He's cool. Obviously, we talked about the Benalia and these cards, but I want to talk about this Drake's deck, because it feels like for the longest time. Okay, so Arclight Phoenix is a deck. People are playing that. That's a thing people are doing.
Yep.
And some of the other cards in here we know are not Modern level powerful, but
a lot of them are, though. I mean, Tormenting Voice has seen some Modern play. Chart the Course is
definitely Modern
playable. Lava Coil we discussed could be even sideboard, but it's just the best red removal spell after Shock in the format.
Beacon Bolt's not good enough.
Beacon Bolt is not good enough, but it's not. It's close. This kills a lot of things.
sorcery card you own. Oh, I was thinking of a different card. Well, it costs 3 though, so that's the major difference here. So looking at this deck though, the thing that I find the most
Discovery
interesting,
Dispersal we've talked about modern. Opt is a modern card. Shock would just be lightning bolt, but fine. Radical Idea is pretty modern playable.
This deck is literally just a slightly worse version of the blue-red deck that people are playing in modern with Arclight Phoenix. What I want to talk about though is not the Arclight Phoenix part; it's the other part. It is the Crackling Drake, and then the list that we're playing, the other Drake, Enigma Drake. It's that deck because I don't necessarily know that that's a modern deck, but those combined with, what's the other one that I love, Spellheart Chimera, which is the same card except without the exile component. That's like an interesting strategy that I've been curious if anyone's ever going to make work in Modern for a long time, because you cycle through cards so fast in Modern, you could turn these things into just enormous threats, like an Enigma Drake or the other thing, or a crack. I think the Crackling one probably doesn't work because it costs 4, but the other guys cost 3.
ATBs, but yeah, the other 2 cost 3. Sure.
The other 2 cost 3, and
you're not playing as many possible flashback variants, so the exile feature on it is not as important. Sure. Okay.
Once you get one of these guys up to 5 instants and sorceries, you have put your opponent on a very steep clock. If you get it up to 7, with them taking life off of their own lands, very likely, they're on a very quick clock.
Well, that's also why they're playing Maximize Velocity. The purpose of Maximize Velocity in this deck is to give Enigma Drake or Crackling Drake at 4 or 5 mana.
Yeah.
Just a haste 10-4 flyer for 5 or 4.
Well, that's
just
the
an
thing.
Insane number.
You have to give them haste, is what I've learned. So one of the things that I've noticed,
Maximize Velocity is very good at.
Yeah. So again, I know we're talking Standard, and the other form, you play Standard, I play Highlander. Those are the formats we play that aren't Modern. So I built a Jeskai Ascendancy deck in Highlander. Did I tell you this? I built the Jeskai Ascendancy deck. I play all of the best tutors. That's how I get it, and I play all the bad cantrips, and it works. Okay. So I was trying to figure out. This is a high level. You guys know this format that I play is it's basically legacy level powerful. You're playing the most powerful cards. I was I need to have a couple other ways for this deck to win. So I threw a copy of Spellheart Chimera in the deck. And it's insane. When you play that card, you have a deck that can cycle through instants and sorceries. You untap and you're like, all right, I'll swing for 12. It ends the game so quickly. That's not that different than something you could be doing in Modern. You could cycle through your deck so fast. Now, you don't get the free spells. So, not having Gitaxian Probe matters. The fact that it's Street Wraith that does that, not Probe, makes the card worse. But, you've seen people messing around with the card Postmortem Lunge, right? That's a card people have talked about. Postmortem Lunge, at instant speed for the cost of the creature, not instant speed, with haste, gets the creature back, puts it into play with haste, and adds another point to its power. I think there's a Postmortem Lunge, Enigma Drake, Spellheart Chimera, spells deck that people could be playing in Modern that would catch people with their pants down like crazy. I think that's a real thing.
Yes, I agree. The more you talk about this deck, I know I'm on this train and I'm not trying to do that here, but I do think the reason these decks work here is because of the Phoenix. The fact that you have the ability on turn 3 to just get 9 power haste in play without changing your game plan is very powerful. And this deck, I think, plays with that space where, and even this is a better payoff than even one of those Drakes. The problem with these Drakes are they die to everything. And the nice thing about the Phoenix is that it dies to one thing in Modern.
Well, the Enigma Drake doesn't, because it's got 4 toughness. It doesn't die to bolt.
Sure.
And they cost 3, so they don't immediately die to push. They die to half of push, but the 3-drops don't die to push totally.
Right. They're okay.
They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even saying that you wouldn't play you play Enigma Drake, you play Spellheart Chimera, and you play Arclight Phoenix in the deck.
Yeah. I guess your point is that you think the Izzet Drake deck is pretty easy to transfer into Modern.
I think there's a version of this deck you could find to make work in Modern. People kind of have. That's a little bit what the blue-red Phoenix deck is.
Right. I don't know how much better. I think Enigma Drake is just better than a card, say, Bedlam Reveler, and cards in that angle where it's just these are pound for pound just good cards with what you're doing versus Enigma Drakes where, and maybe I'm wrong, and you might totally be right that Enigma Drake is the card to bring in here, but yeah, I think that's definitely something to be wary of.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. I think that there's some other options in Modern that are interesting to really fill your graveyard up. But anyway, so just something I noticed. It's a deck that I think is worth. There's other variations of that Arclight Phoenix deck and these blue-red spells decks, these Drake decks that Modern could feature that we haven't seen featured yet.
Okay, so next thing is the top 8 of this format. The final game, the finals, was decided by a mull to 5.
So brutal.
So, do you think that either at competitive levels like this or in general, the mulligan rule should change to become more tolerant of that moment?
Like give you a better chance to have a real hand.
Like someone mentioned that you should get rummage every time you mulligan, or like when you mulligan, you rummage instead of you draft, where you just discard cards from your hand. You basically partial pairs. You do what Commander was doing forever, where you can discard X amount of cards from your hand, you put them to the side, you then draw that many cards once, and then put those onto the bottom, and then you mulligan like regular from that point on.
I don't think that that's as good of an idea as. So I've one of the things in this format, it's hard. Like any 60 card format with 4-ofs, I think you're dealing with redundancy that's so much more impactful because your chances of drawing the right cards when you do that, it's different than in Commander and Highlander where it's singleton 100 card. That's where those different mulligan rules often come into play, are those formats. Like we get a free 7 card mulligan in Highlander. What do people do in Commander?
It's the same.
You get a free 7?
You get a free 7.
I mean, I wouldn't
hate... Yeah, Highlander and Commander rules are pretty much the same in that.
I wouldn't hate a free 7 at the Pro Tour. Like Pro Tour top 8, you get a free 7.
I don't hate that. I think that's... Yeah, I don't hate that. I think that's...
If you got a free 7 and then your 6 was the norm...
Or the top 8 gets a free 7.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think if the Pro Tour top 8 was a free 7 followed by your normal scry off 6...
I think especially since they left best out of 5 and they're now best out of 3. And I might be wrong on that, and someone can correct me, but... Live chat. But I believe since it's best of 3, it should be mull. I like the idea of just a free mulligan.
Yeah, I mean, I just like there is nothing worse than those high level matches.
They do have best of 5 matches. Okay, I guess like it's best of 5.
Yeah, and maybe that's the reason.
And then like I'm leaning more just like if the last game that you're winning in or it's tied and you go to that, like you once in a while it'll be mull to 5, like you mull to 5 and lose, but I've won all the 5s. I don't know. That's rough.
It also changes.
I mean,
it's a farther reaching decision because it changes deck construction. You can build decks with a much more glass cannon-y kind of narrow approach if you know you're going to get a free 7, which I think is unfortunately worse for Magic than better. So in that sense, I don't know if a free 7 is helpful. Like knowing in Modern that you get to take a free 7 makes you want to play Goryo's Vengeance. So some deck like that that's going to try to win on turn 2 with the exact right draw. It makes you want to throw back.
And that's what they're saying is the chat's even saying that is that by making the mulligan rule better, it makes combo better. And do we want combo to be better?
No. A combo needs to exist exactly where it is now, which is like it's a deck that can win if you play it really well, but you also can lose to yourself because you're playing a bunch of do-nothing cards that interact to win the game.
Sure.
And I think that's better. Magic's not fun when combo is what wins. I think we've all been there before.
So this is a whole episode topic that I just wrote down because I think it'd be interesting to talk about next week. And we've kind of talked about it before, but I think combo is the only way to have a diverse Magic format, though.
Having combo is a good thing.
Well, because but also just combo in general. There's there's thousands of different combo decks, and each strategy is different. It's different than say like mid-range control and aggro are pretty much the same no matter what way you splice it. Maybe and then like add burn as a fourth thing, but like combo is really the one way that you actually start having diversity because there's a total difference between Storm, between Lantern Control, between KCI, between like. And I think Elves combo, like all of these function so differently. The problem is that when you have too many of them, it starts becoming like two ships passing in the night. But is that, I don't know. It's fascinating. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we can have another episode about it.
All right, so before we get to the next up, I do want to do some shout outs. First one is make sure to check out our sister podcast, The Command Zone. They're on iTunes. They're on collected.company. That's also where you can find our actual website existence. If you go to their YouTube channel, the third best place to find them, they all have a ton of good video content as well. They do game nights. They do a new show that's called... You know the name better than I do.
Oh, it's called Extra Turns.
Extra Turns. And yeah, they do great content. I mean, to be totally honest, most of you probably know who they are more than you know who we are.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're awesome. We've been working with them since the very beginning, so big shout out to them.
And then also make sure to check out our Patreon. So the camera, the mics, the way we're doing this moving forward, with your help, we can kind of keep this going on, making sure that we prioritize it. So we really thank all of our Patreon subscribers for making it keep happen. It's a little bit amount of money every month, but it's definitely one of the reasons that this show just kept going on as long as it has, and we're really thankful.
Very thankful. Patreon.com/the MMCast. We're going to probably look at that pretty soon. Like, I would say in January, like post the new year. You think your and I plan is to sit down and look at our Patreon tiers and try to figure out, like, how are we going to reward the people that are on the Patreon better? Because I think that's one thing that we would like to do, is make sure that those of you that have been supporting and continue to support have a little bit more of a direct access, like a way to really feel like you're part of this process. And you are. We just, we've been busy, and so we haven't added new things in a while. And I think it's probably time. Like, I think our Patreon videos from like 3.5 years ago.
Yes.
I think it's like
this one at my dad's house when Cass was in my dad's house.
A much younger us.
Yep. Cool. Next thing, mono, white, and modern. I think we kind of talked about that. But yeah, I mean,
mono, white, and modern is basically
has
just
it won a GP yet? It was the one, I know that
Craig Wesco, I thought maybe won a GP.
Well, that was White Weenie. I don't think he at one point, Mono Blues obviously won GPs with Merfolk. Mono Green has won it with Elves. Mono Red has definitely won it with
Has
Scred
Soul
Red.
Sisters ever won a GP? Or is it just top 8'd? I don't think it's ever won.
It's top 8'd. I don't think it's like Proclamation Rebirth decks have just top 8'd.
Martyr Proc, yeah. There's like red white prison decks that are pretty heavily white based.
I think Mono White. I think Soul Sisters. Mono White's won a GP. It's Mono Black that has never won a GP. There's never been a
8-rack.
8-rack has never won.
Really?
Yeah, a Nora Zombies deck, Nora Gray Merchant deck, no Mono Black deck has won a Modern Pro Tour, but Mono White has. I think, or not Pro Tour.
Soul Sisters, right?
I think Soul Sisters is what.
I kind of remember that happening. I think definitely top 8'd, but it might have won. It might have won a GP. If somebody in the chat knows, that would be great.
Yeah, then we can get confirmation. This is the best part about doing this live.
Yes.
We get to be course corrected by the chat.
So yeah, I think other than that, I mean, the other mono white decks are those like Eldrazi and Taxes decks, and I've seen the mono white ones. That's a thing with like Arbiter and Mind Sensor, and then like the Eldrazi creatures. Mm-hmm. But very often those are white black because they want to play Tidal Sculler. There's been almost every variation of those decks. Actually, Death and Taxes decks. Those are white. In general, before Eldrazi and Taxes was a thing, the Death and Taxes decks.
Oh, I think that's what won.
Flicker Wisp.
Yeah, it wasn't Soul Sisters. It was a Flicker Wisp.
Yeah. Now those decks are
Grand Arbiter or Arbiter, not
Leon
Arbiter.
Those decks are usually Eldrazi-ish now. They're often like that suite of all of your Eldrazi lands and your Thought Seers and stuff are usually what make those decks work. But there have been just straight up mono white ones. That's the thing. So
this is, people are now on the chat arguing about how to do mulligans. Going back to that for a hot second. One idea that I've always had that I realized I didn't say is, what about scry equals X times number of mulligans?
On your first mulligan, it's a scry 1. On your second mulligan, it's a scry 2.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think mulling to 5 scry 2 is going to help you that much.
I do. I mean, making it so that your next, because you don't. That's why I think if you scried 1 5 times, it would be bad, because then you just have one card.
Okay.
But scry 5 is like.
Yeah, insane.
You just set the top. Your top 5 cards are part of your hand at that point, but you just don't have them at times, so you have to temper it. And it might be scry mulligan, scry -1 times mulligans or something like that. But yeah.
All right.
I also think that doing a mulligan, scry, and then you get a free mulligan at scry 1, then you scry, then you get a free mulligan at scry 1, or even maybe subtracting the scry every other time.
Something
so you go
like
like from 7 to 6 plus scry to 6 to 5 plus scry to 5 to 4 plus scry. Like go down that way.
Yeah. Yeah, could be. What else we got? What else on the docket? Producer?
Yeah. I'm the producer? I have so many jobs.
This has been so nice. So it's true. This is a peek behind the curtain for you guys. We've done the show for how long now? 4.5 years?
Mm-hmm.
4.5 years ago, Alex started this. I was not on, some of you don't know this or don't remember this, I was not on the first 6 episodes, I think. I think the 7th episode was maybe my first episode. And Alex started this podcast. So like when I joined, this was a thing where he had like sort of ownership of it. Like he was the one who was producing it, and he would come up with the show outlines, and I would just show up. Over the years, we got busier, we did more things, it became a little more shared. Then he got really busy and he started a company. And I took on for the last year a lot of the production duties, but it's kind of nice, like, doing this at night and having you make the outline. Feels like the old days a little bit.
It is nice going back to nighttime.
Yeah. Doesn't feel as stressful.
What do you want to play at this GP you're going to?
I'm going to be going to Grand Prix Portland.
This is the last section, final shout out. So
yeah,
this is it. This is your moment.
This is my moment.
You're going to play mono white?
Maybe. I've thought about playing Death and Taxes decks before.
What about Drake Arclight Phoenix things?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at like I don't have right
left.
now a deck that really you got rid of all the rest. Mm-hmm. Would you sell them online or?
Someone bought them online.
Okay.
For 4, and then Craig went to some store and sold a bunch.
Sold the rest.
Yeah.
Nice. I don't have a deck right now that is like that pet deck that I've wanted to play, that I've talked about on the show forever, that now I'm going to sleeve up. Like, usually I have that deck. I don't have that right now. I have a lot of ideas, things that I think are cool.
For the last 6 months, we've been talking about, not 6 months, for the last 3 months, we've been talking about Arclight Phoenix with Life from the Loam. Like, I think that, and the
when I tested it on my phone, I didn't like it that much. I changed it. I mean, like, so.
Can I see your list while we're talking?
Yeah.
You keep talking about what you want to think about playing while I judge your list based on my list.
Yeah, well, because originally the deck that I had taken to that GP was a what's it called deck? It was a Jund. It was a Jund color deck. Correct. With like all the Firebrand Archers and stuff. And then the version eventually that I have worked on, no, that's the wrong deck, was a Teamer version. That's the one that Pirate Trace Share will continue. This was the last version that I had in my phone. And you and I talked about like what ways to change it. I don't know. That's a possibility. I've seen a lot of good Arclight Phoenix decks, so I don't know if like playing this is necessarily the right deck. I think I'm maybe just playing a worse version of a good deck if I do that. I definitely. Yeah,
I don't like Electrostatic Field.
Yeah.
I think that's way worse than Thing in the Ice.
Yeah, I mean, this is, at that point, it just becomes...
Here, I'm going to show you my list. But so basically, and we'll post these online. Or I'll post Ben's here on the camera. And the key things to his is that he's playing 4 Pondrify, 4 Serum Visions, and 4 Flame Jabs, which I think, and 4 Electrostatic Fields. And I think that's a lot of all of those. With Flame Jab, the second one is so much worse than the first 3, and you have so many different ways to draw cards in your deck that like just multiples get bad. Pondrify, you're really hyped on, and I'm going to let you continue to be really hyped on. I think
it's a cool idea.
Electrostatic Field is just way worse than the wall. What's it called?
Thing in the Ice, which is also a 0/4.
Also the fact that Thing in the Ice, Arclight Phoenix, and Bedlam Reveler have all these like really intricately cool working
like the
features together, like the horror tribal between Bedlam Reveler and Thing in the Ice.
I could play horror tribal. Jeff Roberts and I have been talking online about a horror tribal deck since that episode.
And then Bedlam Reveler and Arclight Phoenix are obviously really good because you discard the Arclight Phoenixes and the draw cards, build cast Arclight Phoenixes into play, and then Arclight Phoenix come in after you trigger Thing in the Ice because of the timing of their enter the battlefield effect. So they all work really well together.
I kind of want to play the Kragenwick Cremator deck with Galta and all the huge creatures. That deck's sweet.
Yeah, that deck's cool too.
Hey, you know another deck, by the way, I was thinking that I'm curious that we haven't seen show up yet and no one's even played, and let alone in Standard no one has played, but is a Rat Colony deck. I'm surprised that no one's tried it yet. It seems like there are enough things that you can do that make...
I think it just dies to Lingering Souls.
Well, definitely, but obviously you have to just be able to get through. Like, for instance, in Standard, what about that card like Tetsuo Umezawa Fugitive, the 1/3, that any creature you have with power toughness 1 or less is unblockable?
Oh, the Rat deck, like there's a really good meme on Twitter where I think it was Saffron Olive or it was one of those kind of guys.
Rat Colony is bad. Yes, I think you're probably right.
Where they like made a Rat Colony deck on Arena, and it was like really cheap because it's all uncommons, and like someone was like, "Thanks for like using the internet, nerd," and then like was like aggressively mean to that person, and he was just like, "Okay."
Oh, you know what I could do actually? This is a deck that I've wanted to test out. Maybe I should build this. Is the Nicol Bolas Training Grounds deck? That's a deck that I actually thought was pretty sweet with
It's Training Grounds. Oh, it's modern. Yeah, okay, yeah, fine.
Training Grounds and Pack Rat and Nicol Bolas.
For 3 mana, isn't the activation 4?
For what?
It's 4 and 4, right? Or how much does it cost to activate Nicol Bolas to flip them?
It costs 7, I believe.
Okay.
So it costs
5?
It costs 5, which means you can play Nicol Bolas, untap, and then flip them the next turn.
Okay.
I think the way I wanted to build this deck was all good spells: Training Grounds, Pack Rat, Nicol Bolas, and then Tasigur, because Tasigur's activated ability then costs 2, so you can go Stone Cold Nuts.
What was the last time you went to a GP and played a deck that was like
A real deck?
A real deck.
I don't know. Maybe never. I don't do that. It's not fun for me.
How do you know if you've never done it?
Actually, I take that back. I played Kessel Run, which was kind of a real deck.
Kind of, and you had a lot of fun.
Yes, but I had some part in building that deck. I swapped out 8 cards from the main deck before I played it.
Sure, but I think all these I think you finding a good Arclight Phoenix Horror Bedlam Reveler deck and then switching in 4 Pondify for 4 of the removal spells is exactly what you want to do. I can play Kessel Run
again. Actually, I really liked playing Kessel Run. That was really fun.
I haven't modified it; still exists.
And I would have to probably take out the Meddling Mages. I think they're worse. We would have to have a better game plan against Spirits to not just get tempoed out really hard. But I could play that deck again. That deck was really fun.
Yeah.
So.
All right. That's it for that segment. Internet, world at large, live chat, people watching this not live but on YouTube, people listening to this while driving their car. All of you, stop right now and text Ben through Twitter or
Tweet
through the chat or through the comments.
Media. Let me know. Yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments about what you think I should play at this GP, because I'm going to be spending the next few weeks getting ready for it.
We want deck lists. Give me 2 cards that you'd like people to prioritize having in deck lists they send you.
I would love to make a Nicol Bolas deck work with
the new
standard.
4 mana Nicol Bolas.
He's really good.
Okay.
I would love to play that card.
So
I think that'd
we
be
want
fun.
decks with Nicol Bolas and give me Pondify?
And Pondify Rapid Hybridization decks. If anybody can figure out a way to make that work, I'm into that.
Okay. Deal.
So,
all right. Thanks, everyone. And then last 2 shout-outs. Make sure to check out the Facebook groups. We got a big Facebook group. We got a Facebook page. It's another place to, when we go live or post our content, we post it there. Facebook group is just I think we're the largest modern group on all of Facebook.
By far. We're 5,000 people.
Yeah, we own the Facebook modern conversation.
I get lost in there. It's too much.
Yeah. It's fun. It's definitely exploded. It's interesting. It's a place meant for talking about cool deck ideas, but then there's definitely a crowd of people that want a modern group that's more focused on
winning,
competitive modern and winning every game.
It's also debatable how many people in that group actually listen to this show. There's some number, but
I think it's 20%. I did a poll once.
20% of the people in the group listen to our show.
It's low. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So more of you guys go check it out so we can raise that number.
When I'll comment on something. I'll comment on something.
Yeah.
And somebody who are you, bro? Get out of here. And I'll be like, you're kicking me out of my own band.
It's grown past you, Ben. It's bigger than you. And
I have a brand new show on Collider.
Yeah.
I have a brand new show on Collider Podcast Network. It's called The Action Guys. Me and Andrew Guy, who a lot of you guys know from Action Movie Anatomy. Alex has guested on that show several times. We have a new show that we are doing. It's the sister podcast to Action Movie Anatomy right now. So Action Movie Anatomy is 1 movie every single week. This is the shorter version that is taking ideas and then getting to break them down. So for instance, Action Movie Anatomy will do Fight Club 1 week. We'll have a whole conversation on The Action Guys about David Fincher versus Christopher Nolan, who is the superior director. So they kind of go hand in hand. Check it out. It's on the Collider Podcast Network YouTube channel and also the Movie Talk feed over at Collider. So I'm excited about that. We just launched last week. You can check out the first episode. We do a bunch of stupid Gerard Butler impressions. And that's going to be that.
Cool. So, last but not least is you guys all might remember the game Battle Bosses. It's in this top right corner generally all the time. Now zooming in on it in the video. It's the game we kickstarted earlier this fall, at the beginning of the fall, end of the summer. The backer kit is launching probably at the end of this week, so by the time this video is not live, but just regularly available, you can go check it out. It's a way to, if you missed the Kickstarter and want to buy it and see what it's about, go buy. If you want to increase what you did on Kickstarter, you can go there. If you just want to give us the information for what you want to get and where you need to get it delivered, check out the backer kit. If you go to the Kickstarter page looking up Battle Bosses, it'll be linked to there. Also our website, also on Twitter, also everywhere, and then probably in the show notes. So make sure to check that out. And Ben just scrolled away from my face because he wants to talk.
I just like that we can move this camera around. We never do. We always just keep it static. We never use it. So anyway, guys.
You're right.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You guys have been terrific. We love doing the show. We'll be back same time, same place next week. We have our spoiler for Ultimate Masters coming up. So stay tuned for that.
Preview card on Tuesday. Probably in the morning. It'll be one of our last morning recordings because we have to do it. Well, generally preview cards will be in the morning. So it'll be Tuesday morning. Check it out. Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah.
Ben's going to dress up like a turkey.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
It's happening.
Thank
Bye,
you
guys.
for your attention. For further inquiries, send an email to the MMCast@rocketjump.com. See you later, alligator.